There was a country so poor at independence that it had less than 20 university graduates. A country where most villages didn't even have a primary school. A country with over 120 ethnic groups, each speaking different languages, each with their own traditions. The risk of chaos, division, and endless conflict was sky-high. Yet, one man, Julius Nyerere, stood up with nothing more than determination, vision, and belief that education and unity could hold a nation together. Today, we'll dive into the gripping real story of how Nyerere used the power of schools and the spirit of Ujamaa, familyhood, to build one of Africa's most peaceful nations. But how did he manage it? How do you unite a place with such diversity and almost no resources? Stick with me, because this story has twists that will shock you. When Julius Kambarage Nyerere, also called Mwalimu, the teacher, took over leadership after Tanganyika gained independence in 1961, the odds were against him. Think about it, most of the colonial education system was designed for a tiny elite. Only a fraction of children had access to school, and higher education was almost non-existent. Nyerere knew something most leaders ignored: without education, independence was just an empty flag. People couldn't participate in democracy if they couldn't read or write. Farmers couldn't modernize if they didn't understand basic arithmetic. A nation could not stand tall if its people remained in the dark. That's why his very first priority wasn't building flashy offices or filling his own pockets, it was building classrooms. In his words, education is not a way to escape poverty, it is a way of fighting it. But here's where the suspense grows. Imagine trying to push education in a land where the economy was so weak, the government literally had no money. Foreign aid was limited, teachers were scarce, and infrastructure almost non-existent. The easy way would have been to give up, to say, "We're poor, we can't do it." But Nyerere refused. He launched a movement to bring primary education to every child, even in the remotest village. By the mid-1970s, Tanzania had achieved one of the highest literacy rates in Africa. How? By mobilizing the people themselves. Parents built schools with their own hands, communities contributed labor, and young people volunteered as teachers. Education became a national mission, not just a government policy. Now let's step into the second piece of his vision: unity. This is where the story gets even more dramatic. If you look across Africa in the 1960s, you'll see a sad pattern. Countries gained independence, then soon collapsed into tribal wars, coups, and ethnic conflicts. Nigeria, Congo, Sudan, each was torn apart by divisions. Tanzania could easily have followed the same path. With more than 120 ethnic groups, it was a ticking time bomb. But Nyerere did something extraordinary. He insisted on Swahili as the national language. Why does this matter? Because language is power. If he had allowed English to dominate, only the elite would participate. If he had chosen one tribe's language, resentment would explode. By promoting Swahili, he gave every Tanzanian a common identity. A farmer in Mwanza, a fisherman in Zanzibar, and a student in Dar es Salaam could all communicate as one people. He crushed the seeds of tribalism before they could grow. But wait, the story is not just about noble ideals. There were tough choices, controversial decisions, and sacrifices. One of Nyerere's boldest experiments was Ujamaa villages. He believed that instead of individualistic farming, Tanzanians should live and work communally, sharing resources and supporting each other. In theory, it was beautiful, true African socialism. In practice, it faced resistance. Some people didn't want to leave their ancestral lands. Some resented being told where to farm. The economy struggled, and critics accused Nyerere of being too idealistic. By the 1980s, Tanzania faced economic decline, shortages, and heavy debts. The dream seemed to be cracking. But here's the twist: while the economy faltered, the social fabric held strong. Unlike many African nations, Tanzania didn't fall into ethnic wars, religious violence, or military coups. That was Nyerere's silent victory. He may not have built skyscrapers, but he built peace. And peace is priceless. Let's rewind to one of the most striking episodes. In 1974, Tanzania declared primary education free and compulsory. Overnight, millions of children flooded into schools. Classrooms were overcrowded, textbooks were scarce, but the spirit was unstoppable. Literacy campaigns spread like wildfire. Adults to farmers, fishermen, mothers joined night classes to learn how to read and write. Think about it, a farmer who could now read instructions on fertilizer, or a mother who could now calculate prices at the market. Education was transforming daily life. And for once, the poor were not left behind. This was Nyerere's genius. He made education not just about certificates, but about dignity. But life is never that simple. By the late 1970s, Tanzania's economy was hit hard by the oil crisis, war with Idi Amin's Uganda, and global recession. Critics pointed fingers at Ujamaa policies, calling them failures. Some said Nyerere had wasted Tanzania's potential. Others accused him of being too stubborn, refusing capitalist reforms. And yes, Tanzania suffered. Shortages were real, poverty was real. Yet ask ordinary Tanzanians, and many will tell you, we were poor, but we were together. We had peace. We had schools. We had dignity. Nyerere stepped down in 1985 voluntarily, something rare in African politics. He could have clung to power like others, but he chose to retire quietly. His legacy was not wealth, not skyscrapers, but people who saw themselves as Tanzanians first. Now pause and imagine this. Without Nyerere, Tanzania might have been another failed state. Without his push for Swahili, maybe tribes would have turned against each other. Without his push for education, maybe millions would still be trapped in ignorance. He didn't solve every problem. He didn't make everyone rich. But he planted something bigger, a sense of unity and self-worth. That's why today, Tanzania is one of Africa's most stable countries, often called an island of peace in a turbulent region. So, what's the moral of Nyerere's story? Leadership is not about filling your own pocket. It's about vision. It's about giving people something to believe in. Nyerere's push for education showed that even a poor country can invest in its people. His push for unity showed that a common identity can defeat division. And yes, his mistakes remind us that even visionaries are human. But would you rather have a leader who dreams big and fails in some areas, or one who dreams of nothing except his own power? That's the question. Friends, the story of Julius Nyerere is not just Tanzania's story, it's a lesson for all of us. In a world full of divisions, he proved that unity is possible. In a world where leaders chase wealth, he proved that service is greater. And in a world where poverty feels permanent, he proved that education is the greatest weapon. So the next time you think one person cannot make a difference, remember Nyerere, the teacher who built a nation. If this story moved you, don't just stop here. Hit the like button to support this channel. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Nyerere's model of leadership could work in today's world? Share this video with your friends who need some inspiration, and of course, subscribe so you never miss more powerful real stories like this one. Together, let's keep learning from the past and shaping a better future.